I was really excited and slightly daunted to be invited to close up this session with a little presentation I've put together about the future of education and some challenges that I'd like to lay down to everyone in the room about why we need to make change and how we can achieve that change. First up, why must we change education? Well, quite simply, it's the fact that the world is changing around us. As Ludwig Larkman says, the future is unknowable, but not unimaginable. We don't know what's up ahead, but we can certainly do our research and we can certainly start to imagine what might be rolling out before us. We know by tracking history that we've come through the agrarian age where we were on the farms and we were working the land. We stepped into the industrial age, and for the most part, our schools have remained unchanged since then. We had these buildings and these structures and the curriculum that was designed to create future workers to succeed in that industrial age. However, we're moving on and we're now stepping into the knowledge age, an age where ideas, creativity, problem solving is going to be the skills that we're going to need to master. The knowledge age. It's a time where thinking and where knowing how to communicate that thinking is key. We know we're in a period where there is more information than you can poke a stick at, and we're going to have to become really savvy about how we navigate and we curate and we use that information. We have more people, our students are going to have more careers, and they're going to have careers that we haven't even heard of at this stage. And we're going to be doing this with fewer resources around the world. Our earth resources are depleting, so we're going to have to be smarter in the way that we're working. And we have to be aware of that period of change. We are in an era of accelerating change. No longer can you actually sit back and accept that things are going to be the same next week or next year. We are going through a period which might actually be referred to as hyper-change. Gordon E. Moore, the founder of Intel, once stated, and this was 50 years ago, that every year we were going to see the power and the speed of technology double and accelerate at a double speed for every year. And that prediction has proven more than true over 50 years later. And the speed by which our technology is changing has to be a sign that maybe we need to change along with it. The only constant we can accept is change, and that things will continue to change. So what do we need to change in education then? Well, I would suggest there's many things. I would suggest that we need to make sure that at the forefront of our minds are these skills, these 21st century skills, and I hate that term 21st century because we're well and truly into it, but these future-focused skills that will prepare our young people for the future. These need to exist over the top of, alongside, and enhancing our traditional curriculums in schools. We don't need to throw the numeracy and the literacy out the door, but we need to make sure that we're actively seeking to teach our learners how to do these things, how to successfully engage in complex communication across a whole lot of modes and media. We need to actively teach them how to collaborate successfully with one another and no longer be an island, but work collaboratively as a team. We need to develop and give them time and space to learn how to become critical thinkers and problem solvers, and we need to nurture and give time and space for both creativity and innovation. And we need to also make sure that, of course, they are savvy when it comes to technology, and that they can indeed use both information and media successfully and to their own advantage. So we could say that there needs to be some real key changes. We need to make sure that we're moving from the low level and rote learning to incredibly high level thinking. We need to move from analog to digital. That doesn't mean we lose the analog. It means we become truly blended in our approaches around teaching and learning. And we need to step away from the front of the classroom and move alongside our learners to ensure that we're no longer purely teacher-directed, but that we are actually genuinely providing opportunities for student-directed learning. Not just saying, oh, they're doing a research project that they're developing, and that we've achieved it. It's literally handing over the power to the learner. And to work on your sort of analogy about chickens here, Wendy, we need to, in a sense, make sure that what we are nurturing are a generation of free-range learners. We need our learners to be free to choose how they learn. They need to be free to choose where they learn. We also need to give them the freedom to process their learning in the way that suits them, and how they might choose to evidence that learning. They need to experience learning that is relative to them and not limited to our experience and expertise. We've got to hand over the reins and let them ride off into the sunset. I would say that this is an incredibly compelling argument for where we need to be going in education. Universal design for learning is about equitable access to learning for all students, not just those gifted and talented and the ones that we stick in support classes. This is saying every single learner has individual talents and individual ways that they need to work. We need to make sure that they get multiple modes and ways of receiving their information. It needs to be visual, it needs to be oral, it needs to be written, and it needs to be at a pace and a time and a place that suits them. They need to have multiple means of expression and actually showing us and demonstrating what they're learning. And they need to have multiple means for engaging inside, outside, anytime, anywhere. At Hobsonville Point Secondary School, we're just beginning that journey, and we, in a sense, are prototyping a model of education that we see maybe more closely fits those future demands. We've divided our curriculum up into 4 areas. We have our specialised learning modules that offer opportunities to engage in their learning in both integrated modules that are based on concepts and more single module moments. We have learning hubs where students genuinely connect with a learning coach in a small community that they stay in for 5 years. That learning coach connects with whānau, they plan the learn path for that student, and they make sure they connect and communicate with home whenever they can. They build that relationship that is at the core of students succeeding at school. We have time and we have space for project learning, where students will increasingly direct their own projects that are about giving back to our surrounding community, about moving outside the 4 walls and connecting with the people and with the land around us. We also have a big chunk of time on 4 days where our students have what we call my time, where they make the choice. Do they need to be sitting working by themselves? Do they need that time out, that space to contemplate? Or do they need to be meeting up with friends and doing something out on the field and active recreation? Or do they simply want some time to write and ponder, think and publish? So how can we lead this change in schools? I actually think it's quite straightforward. We need to become adaptive experts. We have a responsibility as educators to make a commitment to evolve our practice every day, every week, every year. Luckily, we have the answer, in a sense, within our own New Zealand curriculum. Our teachers need to be engaging in action research constantly. We need to be iterating and evolving our practice on a daily basis and measuring the impact of our acts and saying, is this making the experience better for our learners? And if not, we need to change it. You need to make sure your practice is not based on something that was popular at the time that Pong was the #1 video game. You need to make sure that you are relevant in how you approach teaching and learning. And you need to keep changing. The sigmoid curve would suggest that the best results are achieved when you're enjoying success. So if you make a change that's positive, do not rest on your laurels. Make more change and get better and keep being relevant to your learners. So how can we be supported? And I really wish Hikia was sitting right there when I said this bit of the presentation. The future is not something that is done to us. We are actually active partners in creating the future of education here in New Zealand. We are forming and forging the way forward. We need a government and we need a body above us that is both warm but demanding. We have a phenomenal infrastructure and we have incredible resources being made available to us. The PON Network for Learning portal can be a real change maker, and we have incredible ultra-fast broadband that is going to become available to all schools in the future. We already have phenomenal educators, and we have spectacular students, and I would agree, we have an absolutely stunning and creative curriculum. I just want to say to them, have high standards, and if you bloody well must, measure results. But provide recognition and resourcing. Demand high standards. Demand excellent outcomes for all of our young people. But mostly provide generous amounts of ongoing professional learning and support, because we too are learners. And you want that for our students. You want them to have the very best teachers. So provide people that can teach us, that can sit alongside us and facilitate our learning journey. So when and where will we make the change? Quite simply, here and now. It's simply a matter of having a growth mindset. It's that idea, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're probably right. We need to believe that we are the agents of change. And we need to hand over that responsibility to our learners, who are the agents of change and will continue being so in the future. And I promised my colleagues and my friends that I would make this a spoken word piece, so I have one slide to dedicate to them. The future of education. The educational revolution will not be televised. It will be blogged, tweeted, and co-constructed in code. The future is unknowable, but won't be slowed. So hurry up, build your own map, and whatever you do, at least get on the road. Thank you.